there's a lot of thought and feeling that's gone into it. Been here 20 years now, and I just hope that everyone's able to, you know, maybe not dwell on this news for too long and be able to celebrate what the rest of the lads have done and let everyone celebrate what we've achieved as a club. At the end of the day, you can be angry and hurt at me, but I just hope that the lads, the rest of the team, the staff, everyone else is able to feel how good a season this has been, and they're able to feel the love and support from the fans as they have done all season.
And in terms of the fans, is this something you'd say to Liverpool supporters?
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot that I would like to say, but the main thing is a massive thank you. That's, you guys have been there from the start with me. You guys have supported me, been there. I felt the support, the love, everything that you guys have done. It's never been unnoticed by me. I've loved every single minute of it. I hope that they felt that has been reciprocated, and that I'd love one day to be able to bring my kids to Anfield and show them that that's where I played, and show them the videos and highlights of what we were able to achieve together. So yeah, just a huge thank you for that. Thank you for everything you've ever done for me. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love that I've always felt. Thank you for always having me back. I will always love the club. I will always love the people of the club. I'll always love the fans and the supporters. And yeah, even though I'm leaving as a player, not as a fan, I'll always be a Liverpool fan.
Well, there's a few things to reflect on Trent Alexander-Arnold. One is the impact he had on the football club and on the Premier League and on the position that he plays. The other one is the emotional wrench of leaving his boyhood club. And the third one is really the reaction, which will be mixed. And as he alluded to in the interview, might not be quite as supportive as he would have hoped. And we'll talk about maybe the reasons for that. But what was your first reaction? We've known this was coming, but what was your thoughts on the announcement?
I was quite emotional listening to him, simply because you could see that this is something that's been, it means everything to him. You can hear it in his words, what the club means to him, and the fact that he's making a decision, even with that statement I saw him do, Kels, making the decision that, you know, he needs to go and try a different culture and level of football, and just to be in that environment. And it is Real Madrid. You can totally understand that as well. But watching it, Kels, really, really sad, because you could see that he's deep in that. He's deep in the fields in respect of what he's saying, because of him walking around every day. He's thinking about all the 20 years, Kels, and since he was a child. So you can imagine how much of a wrench that was for him. But he's left them in great form. Liverpool in top form.
Yeah, it's a tough decision to make, to leave your childhood club, Karen.
Yeah, I wonder, winning the Premier League did that, and maybe earlier than what we're used to in terms of title races, would that made it a good decision, a bad decision for him? Because you're thinking, oh, it's so good here, or actually I've done my job and I've left it in a better place than when I found it potentially, and now I want to go and try something different. But look, when you've been somewhere for 20 years, and I only can relate from me being at Birmingham since a little girl and how much it means to me. And it's not Liverpool, I appreciate that. But for me, it never felt like everywhere else I went I respected, but it was miss home. But you do have to try and jump somewhere else and try and see what it's like. So I do kind of understand that, but there'll always be a part of him and also with me that it's not home.
And I think that came across in his interview, and certainly in a lot of the comments that have been made elsewhere. And it's a decision that's been a long time coming, Darren.
Yeah, it has. I mean, once the contract started to run down, we've seen the pattern so many times with so many other players in the modern era who take control of their careers by allowing their contracts to run down. The interesting thing with Trent is that of the three players around whom there was such a saga across this entire season, he was the one that a lot of people actually resigned themselves to losing. But actually, had Liverpool kept him, it would have been a huge asset to them. And I think there was a lot of debate around him as well, because some people don't give him the credit he deserves as a right-back. And I think we'll only start to see how good he really is once he goes to Real Madrid in that attack-minded side. That's not to say Liverpool aren't, because obviously they are. But I think lots of people looked at what he couldn't do rather than what he could do. Yeah. And I actually don't think he got the credit he deserved in this country. In Spain, him on one side, because Valverde plays there, but he's a midfielder. And I think he'll be a really good fit. Dovetailing with Rodrigo in front of him. He'll be in an exciting side, a dynamic side, maybe even under Xabi Alonso next season, because obviously Carlo Ancelotti might be losing. But just on him, I mean, all the papers will have a lot on him on Tuesday here in England, because I think he is someone, everyone knows him by his first name, which in itself is that kind of status sometimes you enjoy.
Also because he's got a very long surname as well. Brevity.
Yeah, we are a bit lazy in this.
I'm thinking more of parents paying for shirts by the letter.
Well, I'm not paying for that. But I think as far as he is concerned as well, he's come through the club, like you were saying, as a child. I remember doing an interview with him for another broadcaster, and he talked about the things he'd given up, his sacrifice, but also the things he's given to the club, outside of the club, the after academy, where he has provision for people who didn't make it within the game in the local area, because he knows how difficult it is for so many people in the red half, but also the blue half of Liverpool. So it's not just for the Liverpool alumni, if you like. And so those people who think he doesn't care about the club, they'd be wrong to think that he's very, very much invested. But this is a career decision, and I think it's the right decision for him to make.
I think his mum as well, she goes into the academy and she speaks to the parents who are coming through. What do you do at this stage? What do you do? So they've got a lot of invested in Liverpool. But still, Kels, you can't look at this scenario and see how it's got to this point, even though Trent, with his ambition to wanting to maybe better himself, and you can't look back at the club and not say, I don't know, 18 months ago, they've got to make him that deal where they say, listen, this is the best offer we can ever make. You're going to be the highest player in the club's history. They've got to make him that decision, Kels. And if he then doesn't do it, then they have to sell him, because that's the business of the club. So, of course, now we look at Trent, and he's the one who's taken the brunt, because the Liverpool fans are genuinely devastated that he's leaving. Now, from a business point of view, the club, they should not be losing a player like that for free. Absolutely. So I get that with the Liverpool fans. But from a business point of view, with everything what's going on in the management time, Kels, I think people moved around. Someone's taken their eye off the ball. From a business decision for Liverpool, it's a terrible, terrible situation they find themselves in. Yeah. But Trent has no choice once a Real Madrid comes in.
Let's talk about the balance between the emotional and the logical. From Alexander Arnold's point of view, as you know, as you've all alluded to, this is a wrench for him to leave Liverpool. It's clearly, I mean, you couldn't watch that and not be convinced that it was clearly a really, really difficult decision for him. He said that the hardest of his life. But equally, he's leaving the club, having been there since he was 7 years old, without a sell-on fee. Is that his responsibility? Because there is a narrative that he's run down his contract in order to take the payoff that will come with signing for Real Madrid at the end of it when he's out of contract. So is it his responsibility, or is it the club's responsibility?
I think it's the club's.
It has to be the club's, Kels. They're the business side of it.
Absolutely. I think that from the player's point of view, there is a long history since the Bosman ruling came into effect of players basically having the courage to run down their contracts, not being worried about...
at Liverpool was one of the very first.
One of the first when he went to Real Madrid. And Spanish clubs have got a long, recent history of saying to players, come to us, run your contracts down, we'll take you, get the payoff, and you get the chance to walk over and play. With us, if Liverpool as a club take their after ball, you cannot blame Trent in that scenario one iota.
What's the difference between Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah coming to the end of their contracts?
Probably.
And Trent, so tell me, Karen.
I don't know. Look, I'm sure Salah and Virgil would have had, opportunities to leave, but maybe come in the back end of their career. You've heard Mo Salah, his daughter loves being here, is part of the city, so they're integrated, and that's the same for Trent as well. But maybe when you're 26 and you think, okay, I've got quite a few more years left in my career and a different opportunity, and I'm not even probably in my peak, I think that's there's points in your career, and maybe, right, you can go further on this, is that you're making sometimes life decisions as well, where you're going, for your family, for your friends, whatever it might be. I think for Trent, you saw the honours that he won there at Liverpool. He's won 2 Premier League titles. He's won everything, and it's like that. This does only maybe come once in your life, and if you sign that 4 or 5 year, you come in at 30, and clubs might not come in the same way. So, and then you're talking about business decisions. Would teams offer long-term contracts to Mo or Virgil away from Liverpool? So I do think age has a big part to play in it.
The fan reaction is an interesting one, because he was applauded by the away end when he was substituted against Chelsea yesterday, and we'll come to that game very shortly. But he was also applauded when Liverpool won the title last weekend as well. More subdued been towards him in the way, you know, in anticipation of this decision being made. There's been a lot of vitriol online, and he's talked about that. Are we at a point now where we take what's said online particularly seriously? Can we judge the kind of barometer of how fans are feeling by what's said online? Because we'll come to this with Cole Palmer as well a little bit later.
The thing with it is, Darren, I was going to say, with online, it's because it feels like it comes in such a wave, such a tsunami. You feel like it's all encompassing, it's all around you, Kels. But what you've got to understand is it really, the sensible people, the people who really care about you, and yes, there'll be people who are Liverpool fans are disappointed to see him go, but they're not disappointed enough to go online and write something that you see, whether he's looking at it or not, it gets to you, and it gets to you, you know, in respects of like how you feel, you know what I mean? And so it's just the enormity of the amount that comes, Kels, that it drains through. But I don't genuinely believe that a majority of Liverpool fans really, really feel like that. You don't even know if it's all Liverpool fans, just nasty people. And that's why you can't take it off of social media in that way and take it too seriously, because I think that anybody will see his situation, the opportunity he has, and realise he's trying to even better himself even more, if that's possible.
I mean, eventually it gets to the point, how long do you stay? Because I think most, and you guys can speak to it better than me, but if you're an ambitious player, you've won everything there is to win at one club, the natural next step is to see if you can do it somewhere else. We celebrated the birthday of David Beckham, the legendary David Beckham, at the weekend, but he played in all 5 major European leagues at the biggest clubs, because if you are good at anything, in terms of what you do, you want to see if you can do it. Test. Exactly. Yeah. What is the next challenge? And I think in terms of the reaction, the stadium reaction is different to online, on the social media reaction. Social media reaction, very, very different. But the fans who go to the stadiums, pay the money, live the experiences in real time, they will appreciate these words.
And it will be a little bit more subdued, the reception, because they will feel stung by the fact that he's leaving. For a Madrid side who haven't been as successful as Liverpool this season, they're out of the Champions League as well. They look unlikely to win the league title. They've been, you know, beaten in the final by Barcelona of the Copa del Rey, and they'll think, well, how can you be leaving for something bigger? But we talked about this, Wrighty, and it does pick up on the same point. When he scored the goal against Leicester and there was that celebration, and we talked about it in terms of not just it being one pure emotion, it'll be a whole mix of things with this reaction to that goal against Leicester.
It will do, and you know, you could sit watching. I don't think I've ever seen him this animated in his celebration. He's never, because it means so much. And like, if things are to be believed, what's been in the newspapers, then he knew a long time ago that he was leaving. So, you know, that is something to say, have that. That's, you know, he's angry, he's happy, he's everything. You cannot actually get into the emotional state that he's in right there and now, what he's feeling, because he knows he's leaving. He's just scored a great goal for him. It's going to probably help them with the league and what they're doing. He's still doing his part. But at the same time, I think he's trying to show, I do love you, just let me do this thing. Let me try and do this thing, man, because I want to play for them. Now, you look at Real Madrid, Kels, we talk about Real Madrid and how poor they've been in respect to their standards. Kylian Mbappe scoring 30-odd goals and still getting stick. That's the level. And that's the kind of club that wants a player like him to then go again. So it's the test. This is what I'm saying, is he ready for that kind of level of scrutiny, and that is where that's where he wants to be. I still
think on top of that, what you just said, Kelly, about this season, it has been poor for them, but I also think there's a little bit of jealousy from Liverpool fans, as much as Real Madrid have won the title the Champions League 6 times in the last 11 years. Liverpool have won it 6 times in the last 50 years.
And have beaten Liverpool in the final.
Exactly.
Times,
And I think as far as Real Madrid are concerned, they see themselves as strengthening a side that they are competing with for the elite European competition. And that's another element of why there is that subdued kind of thing. There's appreciation for him, but there's that acceptance that we're losing a big player to a big club.
Yeah.
Let's talk about him as a player and the way that you could argue that he's redefined the role of right back. Nothing's ever completely new in football, but it's certainly a type of right back that we haven't seen very much of.
No, and I think it goes off the back of your point you mentioned earlier, Darren, that maybe we haven't appreciated him. And now he's going, we'll probably think, I'm gutted, I am, because I think he's a joy to watch in the Premier League. I think he's been a joy to watch at Liverpool. And I think the pain that Liverpool fans are going through is because they love him and adore him. And sometimes if you don't feel the pain, it's because no one probably wants you. It's the same in a breakup. If you break up with the other person or you don't care, it wasn't definitely right. So, but he's an absolute joy. And you're right, in terms of positioning, what he's done, he was under Klopp, he was up and down that right wing, but then he's come in and become that inverted. You see there his set pieces. The only thing I'd say, I'm going to throw one in there, is that actually is what Real Madrid need. I've watched a lot of Madrid this season, and which is why he's got to be at the races when he goes there, because defensively they've been all over the shop, and he's an attacking player to get forward. So I hope, like you said, Wright, I hope he's prepared for that, because he's going to have to be really tested defensively at Madrid, and we've seen it a lot this season in the Champions League.
I think when you're going to a Madrid, they know what they've got, they're capable of having. I always appreciate his ability going forward. Being a forward, you know that if I was playing with someone like Trent, I know he's looking for me instantly. So that's my selfish reasons for his forward play, what I like him about. Obviously, there's certain instances you see where people see he's out of shape with the defensive line. It's not natural to him as the creativity is for him. It's something that he
was a midfielder, wasn't he?
He was as a kid.
Yeah.
So that he's putting the right back, because I think Gary Neville doesn't like to hear it, but it's quite the easiest position to see everything. You tell Gary Neville, Gary was great. Gary was great. One of the greatest.
Traditionally, it was. There's that famous quote, isn't there? Nobody grows up wanting to be Gary Neville.
But I bet a lot of them grow up wanting to achieve what Gary Neville was.
But a lot of kids will grow up wanting to be a Trent Alexander-Arnold, and that's why he's changed what a right back is.
And then what I think might happen in the future, because of how he's changed it and this inverted right back, is that players will now be more defensive about what they can do, because they'll say, if I'm good at the defensive side of it and the creative side of it, which people knock Trent about his defense, then all of a sudden we're going to have generations of players coming through that watch Trent that are going to be unbelievable when they sort that side of it out. Now, is it too late for Trent to sort that side of it out? Are Madrid going to play in a way where he doesn't have to worry about that so much?
It's a really good question, because I think that as far as the English mentality is defence first. So lots of people look at what Trent, in their view, can't do, right? But Spain, they have a very different attitude towards the game, full stop. That's the reason why they don't just dominate the European Championship, but also the junior levels as well, because they bring their players up to appreciate going forward. They're very attack-minded in a way, and the creativity is there. So I think he's a good fit for that Madrid side. Rudiger's out. He's a colossus at the centre of defence. Vasquez has been playing instead of Carvajal, because Carvajal's been injured quite a lot. But I even think Trent, to me, is a better option than Carvajal, because it would be the first choice at right back, because his ability to go forward, but also to invert, as you've been saying, he plays in midfield, ball ability in games that are tight, and there have been a lot of those tight games this season where the points have been surrendered because they haven't been able to go through the usual routes of Vinicius or Bellingham or Rodrigo or Mbappe, which is ludicrous when you say those words.
When you say all their names, you're like, well, I get where you're going, mate.
But equally, as you said, Mbappe was booed when he was watching us from the stands when he was suspended the other week. Jude Bellingham's had a lot of, having been feted in Madrid, which must have been incredible. Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to go to Madrid and realise that he will already know, but he'll realise the impact of things like Real Madrid TV, of AS, newspaper and website, that there is going to be a lot. And he's been learning Spanish, so he'll be able to understand it as well. Which it might be a benefit not to be able to understand it at times.
In a way, they're learning the Spanish, but I remember going to cover Gareth Bale's move to Real Madrid in 2013, and he won them over instantly when he started to give his press conference in Spanish. And I was in the
And
press
yet the narrative
conference.
very quickly became he hasn't bothered to learn the language.
Exactly.
Which is how quickly it can turn.
And the other interesting thing about Trent, and I think that's why this first season is going to be quite key, if he doesn't hit the ground running, there might be a feeling that, oh, it's too much for him. Luka Modric was voted the worst player at Real Madrid in his first season.
Yeah, worst ever signing, wasn't it?
Worst ever signing. And he gets contract after contract after contract long after other players leave, because they appreciate what he can do, and he just needed that first season to get his feet under the table.
And that's what he's joining. That's what he's joining, Darren. He's joining arguably the most high-profile football club in the world.
Absolutely.
You've got to do one thing every day that scares you, isn't that the phrase? And you've got to go and test yourself. What about for Liverpool? Clubs have lost great players. They've lost generational players before, whether it's because they've moved on or whether it's because of retirement, for whatever reason. And they continue without him. Of the games, the 28 games that Trent Alexander-Arnold has started this season, he's only played the 90 minutes in 12 of them. Conor Bradley has come on. It feels very much as though he is the future for Liverpool. There's an element, looks from the outside like they've been bedding him in as Trent Alexander-Arnold's replacement. He's a very different player. And just to go to your point that you made about Alexander-Arnold earlier, when he comes in and he substitutes for Trent Alexander-Arnold, people concentrate on what Conor Bradley can do. When he's starting every week, it's going to be, he's all right at this, but he doesn't do this, which is what Trent Alexander-Arnold used to do. People are going to focus now more on the negatives, because that's how it works.
Because exactly how it works. And the thing and what Conor Bradley's got to focus on is the strengths, him getting forward, the fact that he's a very good player, he's a good defender. You know, just focus on what you do for the team. You're always going to get the scrutiny, no matter what you do. You know, no matter how good you are, you know what I mean? People are looking for the faults. But when you look at someone like Conor Bradley, who, when he did step in, he just looked smooth. Without the experience yet, he just looked smooth. He can play football, he can get forward, he can score. They've got a replacement.
Right, who did you succeed at Arsenal? Did you succeed Alan Smith?
It was Alan Smith, yeah. But Alan was there for me for a couple of seasons, though. But, yeah, it was Alan Smith.
Did you feel yourself being compared to other people, or did you just
No,
think, I'm just going to...
No, I didn't, funnily enough, simply because Alan Smith was a different kind of centre forward. I actually went there not thinking that it was Alan Smith that may move on, and then Kevin Campbell, God rest his soul, he was going to come in. I thought that it was going to be me and Alan Smith up front with Kevin Campbell coming from the wing or something, but it didn't happen like that because we weren't the same kind of player. But, you know, again, Alan Smith was magnificent for me, you know, but like, I don't know. It's in respects of what was I saying about? Was it Trent? What was I talking about?
Conor Bradley.
He's just got all he's got. No. All he's got to do is focus on getting better and consistent at what he does, because people will find fault anyway.
Yeah, of course.
But it might be helped though if Liverpool sign certain other players. You know, at the start of the season we were umming and ahhing how Liverpool would do because of the number 6. And if they go and get another centre midfielder, it might mean that you don't need Trent going into those areas anymore, because you've got someone. And Conor Bradley, didn't he get player of the match against Real Madrid when Trent was out? And I think Liverpool fans would have gone, we'll want that performance. And if we can go and sign maybe a couple of other people that can maybe... We don't want Conor to be Trent, we want him to do his thing. And what maybe Trent do, we go and sign somebody else that can caveat that. And it might look very different for Liverpool next season. But he's got to build that relationship with Mo. I think that's the key thing, that him and Trent had that on lock. But that was built over years and years.
But that's what's quite interesting as well, because Mohamed Salah's talked this season about putting the numbers on the board offensively because he's been relieved of some of his defensive duties, and maybe that's what Conor Bradley can provide a bit more than Trent Alexander-Arnold, who does want to get forward. But they've got... Go on.
No, because I was going to say, and we've got to understand, Arne Slot hasn't even got a team yet. He hasn't even made what part?
Chiesa, who
made one,
He hasn't even... So he's done magnificent work with that Liverpool side. We don't even know who's coming yet. Gravenberch turned into arguably the best number 6 in this country off of his form last season. And you know, so we don't know who he's bringing. I'm very excited for what's going to happen with Liverpool now. You've got to be excited for someone like Conor Bradley, because they're not going to be able to play like they did with Trent when it gets to that state, and then he can zing one across or whip one through. It's going to be something different. And I'm excited to see who Arne Slot's going to sign.
Yeah, it may well be that he's a more... maybe not at the level yet, but an Arne Slot style of player, maybe than Trent Alexander, as brilliant as he's been for Liverpool, is in terms of what they plan for going forward. But they've got 2 more home games, Liverpool. They've got the game at Arsenal, at home to Arsenal, and then the final day of the season when they will lift the Premier League trophy against Crystal Palace. They've got an away game at Brighton in between them as well. But it's going to be interesting to see the reception, isn't it? This is either a chance to make him realise what he's going to miss, which they will have seen obviously when they won the league at home against Tottenham last weekend, or it's going to be a chance to let them know how hurt they are, and it's going to be interesting to see which way that goes.
Can I say with Liverpool fans, I'd like to think that they would give him a nice ovation, because as time goes by and years to come back, they'll love him again. But obviously they're a little bit hurt right now. But I do believe that, and I hope, Kels, that it is. Because one thing I noticed, Liverpool fans never boo their players. Mm-hmm. So obviously when this is happening off the field, they're upset and we're seeing it. And obviously social media feeds into that. But they're never nasty to their players.
Yeah. And in a way, I think the timing of it is particularly good, because there are 3 games to go. He might, even if it's a bit subdued now, by the time it gets to the end of the season, people will, we talk about social media, fans of the club will mobilise and say, listen, we might be upset now, but by the time we have that final game, let's all get behind the team, get behind the player, make sure it's a really good atmosphere.
One of those games in which Trent Alexander-Arnold was substituted that we're talking about was yesterday.